We're learning Vata Tetzava, Tov Mem Aleph, and this is the last Maimah that the Rebbe was Megia, that he looked over, and it was given out in Tov Nun Beis. And this is the Maimah that we learned. We learn for and on Gimel Tammuz. Gimel Tammuz, the Yom Hilul Yortzeit of the Rebbe. V'ata tetzav it's b'nei Yisrael v'yikra alecha shem zayazach zoch kos is lamoir la lisnei tomid. And Hashem is saying to Moshe, and you should command the b'nei Yisrael, they should bring to you olive oil that's crushed for giving off light, for the ma'ir to be the source of light, and la lisnei tomid should be a constant flame. So this mimer of the Rebbe is based on the mimer from the Frierdiker Rebbe, which he said in Tov Reish Pei Zayin, 1927. And it was a Purim cotton mimer when he said it. And Purim cotton that year was the year before he was put into prison for spreading Yiddishkeit on Tesvav Sivan. The Frierdiker Rebbe was arrested Tesvav Sivan and released on Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz. So, he was arrested by largely to do with the Jewish Communist Party. They were strongly against Yiddishkeit, and they knew that he was being arrested, that he was going to get into problems because of his spreading of Yiddishkeit throughout Russia. He was the source in Russia then, under the communist rule, of Yiddishkeit staying alive. And this, and so when he said this Maimah, it was Kibbul HaYehudim in Tov Reish Pei Zayin, 1927. Then at the shul where he said it, there were the spies who were there to see what he was saying, and ultimately they wanted his downfall. And he mentioned them. So it was a very fiery expression of connection the Yidden needed. He wanted to encourage Yidden to have to Hashem, and especially also to fight against the education that the communists wanted to put in to stamp out Yiddishkeit. The end of the story is that he was released that on Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz, which is a tremendous yontif, where he also said that not only he was released from prison, but every Yid who cherishes Torah mitzvahs, or even if they are just called a Yid, and they don't, and not necessarily that they're from, but they're a Yid, Yisrael Yechuna. So all types of Yidden have a geula on that day also. So he said it was not only for him, but every Yid's neshama is able to shine through more. Those who cherish Torah mitzvahs and those who are just identify as Yidden. So on this mimer that the Rebbe said then, this mimer is based on the Frierdiker Rebbe's mimer, and he adds a number of pieces which are different. One of the main highlights of this is that then there was a decree against Torah mitzvahs. It was under persecution, similar to the times of Purim, when there was a decree against Torah mitzvahs and all of Yiddishkeit. Now, on the time when the Rebbe said the Maimer, we didn't have that type of persecution. We're living in a freedom where Yidden are able to learn Torah and do mitzvahs with that not being under pressure, similar to the time it was by the Yidden after the time of Purim, but still under the rulership of Achashverosh. So, and where do we get the koyach to be able to serve Hashem, and how does it show up? It comes from the V'ata Tetzaveh. It comes from the Nasi Hador, from the Rebbe of the generation, that helps bring out each Yid's connection to Hashem, and also gives him the koyach to be able to work with that himself, so that there should be nothing that's missing in the Yid's life, and he should only want that there should be godliness revealed in the world, that Mashiach should come, and his whole life then is geared towards around that he lives with his Nefesh Elikis in the fullest way, as it is part of the essence of Hashem. So this is where we're going through the Maimon. So on this pasuk, we're going to ask a few questions. One is that Vatatitzav, it says, you should command. That's unusual, because usually in the Torah, it's Hashem, Moshe is giving over the command of Hashem. Veidaber Hashem al Moshe le'emer, Tzavis b'nei Yisrael. And Hashem said to Moshe, command the Yidden in my name, this is what you should do. Here, it's a different language, and also it implies here that Moshe is himself doing the work. Va'ata, you should command, not give over in my name. That's one thing. Another thing is, it's interesting that the Rebbe asks, why should the oil be brought to Moshe? He wasn't going to light the menorah. It should be brought to Aaron, the oil. We said, "V'yichu eilecho," and they should bring to you the shemesh zayzoch. Why the olive oil, the crushed olive oil? Why should the pure olive oil? V'yichu eilecho shemesh zayzoch. The pure olive oil should be brought to you. Why should be given to Aaron? Because he was going to use it to light the menorah. Another question is, it says kosis la ma'ir. Ma'ir means the source of light. And you would think the pasuk would say kosis la oir. It should be crushed to give off light, for light. Kosis la oir. The best olive oil is that which is crushed in a special way from the olives. So why does it say la ma'ir, which is the source of light, rather than la he'ir, to light up or to give off light? And the third thing is, later in the pasuk it says me'erev ad baker, that there should be, the menorah should be lit in me'erev ad baker, from evening to morning. And here it says ner tomid. Here it says a constant flame. So what's the change of lashon? Let's learn it inside. The yadum had diyukim bezeh, and it's known the diyukim, how you're being particular in this language of the Torah. The kol hatzivuim sheb'Torah nemet tzavis b'nei Yisrael. In all the Torah it says tzavis b'nei Yisrael. You should command the Yidden in my name, says Hashem. And here it says, you should command the Yidden. Not just Savis B'nai Yisrael, command them, but you should command them. So there's a difference in language. And this is where it's saying, the being exact in the language, that he says, you should command. It's not only in the language, but also in what it means. The lashon va'ata tetzava mashma sheMoshe hu matzava. Moshe is the one who's commanding, not command them in my name, but you're the one who's doing it. Unusual. Also, Harei Moshe hu hashliach limser liyisrael l'sivei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That Moshe is the messenger to give over to the Yidden what Hashem commanded. So why should it say here, you should command? It implies that Moshe is doing the commanding, not giving over just what Moshe said, not just over what Hashem said. Also, we got to understand, why does it say you should take to you the oil? That the oil should come to Moshe, should be brought to you. Since that the lighting of the menorah, the candles, was through Aaron, why did they have to bring the oil to Moshe? It should have gone straight to Aaron, and he would use it. Why does it say the oil, pure olive oil, kosis l'ma'ir? Shemen laheir. It should have said not lamar, but laheir. Lamar is the source of light, and laheir means to give off light. The pasuk after this in the parsha says nema me'erev vad baker. The menorah was lit me'erev vad baker, from evening to morning. And here it says a constant flame should bring a ner tomid, a constant flame. So we have these questions based on the pasuk. Why is it va'ata tetzava? Moshe is doing the commanding. Why is the oil brought to Moshe? Why does it say ma'ir instead of laheir? And what's the language? Davke, a constant flame instead of erev baker. So we're going to go into the pnimius HaTorah look of what the pasuk is saying. So it's not only the simple meaning of the pasuk, but there's a deeper inyan. Like in every inyan in Torah, you've got multiple dargas. There's pshat, remez, drush, and soid in all these levels of Torah, and in general, you've got the guf and the shama of Torah. That there's the chutzonius of Torah, how the Torah is written, and you have the simple pshat of the Torah, and then you've got the nefesh, the chayis, the inner piece of the Torah. Similarly as you have by a person. By people you have the guf, and you've got the inner chayis of the person, and so too Torah. You've got the chutzonius of the Torah and the pnimis of Torah. So here we're going to go into what is the pnimis inyan of what this pasuk means. It's quite lengthy. It comes out of very gishmakia pshat. We'll start on ois base. And here in ois base, the Rebbe will bring from the Friedke Rebbe's pshat in this, when it says va'ata tetzava, it says the word tetzava means command, but it also comes from the language means join and connect. So the inner message is that the Moshe Rabbeinu has a job. He has an inyan as the Nasi of the Yidden, and that is to connect the Yidden to Hashem. We'll see the main focus of the Maimah is to connect the Avodah of Moshe, and then by extension, the Zohar says in every generation you have in the Shama of Moshe Rabbeinu that he should be connected, that his job is to connect the Yidden to Hashem, is pashtus the Moshe b'chol doir, that it's an extension of Moshe Rabbeinu every generation. And so his avodah is to help the Yidden connect to Hashem. And we'll see how does he do that? What is that avodah ruchnis that's involved in that? And also, as we'll see later in the Maimer, that it's not only to connect the Yidden to Hashem, but to connect the Yidden to amongst themselves with Avos Yisrael. So there's two aspects. That the deeper the neshama is brought out from a Yid, you have the ability to connect to Hashem in a deeper, more all-permeating way within each person themselves, and also to connect to every Yid as well. Mavur, let's look inside. Oispace. Mavur kveit kedushas meiruvacham more, and the Friedeke Rebbe kveit meiruvacham means my master, my father-in-law. Says the Rebbe refers to the Friedeke Rebbe because the Rebbe was the son-in-law of the Friedeke Rebbe. The Gemara kveit which meiruvacham me'ad more b'mayim how you do it divrei maschil kibul haYehudim sheneba b'purim cotton tofresh bezayin. And this that he says in that famous mimer of Kibbutz Yehudim said in 1927, that tzivui, the word tetzava, command, who also means savsa v'chiver. That means to join. And this is what Hashem is telling to Moshe, you should command, meaning connect the Yidden, Shemoshe hu makashu machaber b'nei Yisrael imeir soif. That Moshe should join and connect the Yidden to Eirim Sof with Hashem.